Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be discussing Shane Dawson's series on Jake Paul. Now, before we get into this, I wanted to give a little disclaimer because I know people get all up in their feelings about this kind of stuff. So I look up to Shane Dawson. I really like his content. I'm a fan. So in this video, if I am critiquing something about the series, I'm not critiquing Shane Dawson. I'm critiquing his choices for the series. There's a difference. So that's that. And if anything, the fact that I'm critiquing Shane Dawson is a testament to the fact that I don't think that anyone is above critique. Not me, not anyone else. Though I know that Shane Dawson is like the Beyonce of YouTube, so I feel backlash coming and this video isn't even edited yet. Another disclaimer is that I'm not a documentarian, so when I talk about these videos and this series, I'm not talking about it as someone who knows about documentaries. I'm going to talk about it as an English major who knows things about narrative, plot devices, and so forth. So this is my analysis as an English major. I'm going to analyze these videos as if they were texts, okay? So I'm sorry if I have my phone out for this one, but I made a series of notes that go quite a while, so I don't want to forget anything.
6 figures I was only for. 6 figures I was only for. So much money I can't see the floor.
So the narrative of the video starts off with, is Jake Paul a sociopath?
I'll explain later what this all is. There's a lot more to it than just like, originally we were going to talk about YouTubers. Yeah. And if you have to be kind of a sociopath to be a YouTuber.
Honestly, are you a sociopath?
I don't know. We all know David's a psychopath.
Surprise, y'all.
Exactly.
I'm also not a sociopath.
So I didn't like this just because it frames the story in such a negative way from the get-go. And I don't even like Jake Paul, so I'd be probably the first to be like, yes, he totally is. But even here, I was just kind of like, let's step back a second. That's not what we want to know. Like, the fact that sociopath was even used to me seemed a bit random, and it seemed like it came out of nowhere because there's so many other terms. We could have said, is he narcissistic? Is he a psychopath? Is he like all this other series of things? So of all the possible terms, sociopath seemed a little bit random to me, but that's a minor thing. The fact that the story starts with this negative narrative of, is he a sociopath, makes the tone just so heavy and almost anxiety-inducing from the get-go. I was just kind of like, this is a lot. It's a lot to be asking, and I feel like the real bottom line of the entire series, and I figured this out before the end, so you don't have to watch all of it to know this, is that the real question isn't, is Jake Paul a sociopath? The real question all along was, who is Jake Paul? Is the Jake Paul that we're seeing on camera the real Jake Paul, or is this a created character? Also, I wanted to say that diagnosing someone from the outside or just from a few instances like Katie did, it's a little bit dangerous to me because most of the time to find a diagnosis, especially for something like that, it's not like depression or anxiety that are quite easily diagnosable by a doctor. Being a sociopath to me seems a little bit more of an abstract concept, less black and white than, say, depression or anxiety. But then again, I'm not a psychologist, that's just my outside perspective.
I was iced out when I was 4. Blew it all, then I got some more. Blew it all, then I got some more.
I thought that the first 3 parts were needlessly long, so I know that multiple people felt this way. I thought they were very long for what was happening in the videos. Most of those videos I thought could be cut down to about 10 minutes. Like, there were 10 minutes of solid content and the rest was a little bit fluffy or filler. And don't get me wrong, I understand that in stories you need to have context, so you need to have background information. He couldn't just throw us into this Jake Paul world without being like, okay, this is who Jake Paul is, this is what his vlogs are like, this is what his family is like. I totally understand the need for the first 3 parts. I didn't understand the need for 45-minute parts. So I saw that a lot of people had a problem with the scary music, but I didn't really see a problem there. Like, I understand that documentaries do that for dramatic effect, and honestly, the music didn't affect the topic for me. Like, I wasn't like, oh my god, I feel so much more sympathy, or I'm so scared. Like, I think we're all mature enough to just know that that's part of entertainment and it's not that deep. So I didn't really understand the critique on that end. Another thing was the involvement of Katie. So I know that Katie, the psychologist, I don't know the right term for her job, apologies, but her purpose was to kind of look at Jake Paul and see if he was, you know, effectively a sociopath, which again, I don't think was the right route to go, but it's fine. It worked out. So people had a problem with her because they thought that she was like trying to find something, but I don't really think that's true. I think Katie was quite fair in the sense that I don't think she was trying to find reasons he was a sociopath. There were plenty of times where she gave him credit where credit was due.
I find myself feeling bad for him. And it makes me suspicious. He didn't really understand because like he's the adrenaline junkie is like only one of the things.
It seems like we asked what I hated him. That's something to me.
When he said he made friends with him, that's what I was hoping.
Is there anything I should ask? Anything else?
What was one of the hardest times in your life?
What would you learn?
So I don't really understand the hate there. Now, I saw some videos trying to expose whether she has her credentials or whether she's in with better help. I don't know about any of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just purely talking about her involvement in this video, not her as a person or her outside of these videos. So I didn't think she was malevolent, and I just think she was doing her best, and I don't think Shane would have brought someone onto the series if he thought they were malevolent, because I thought Shane was fair to Jake Paul, if not a little bit too nice. But then again, I don't really want to judge, because making documentaries has to be a balance of hard questions and giving them a bit of rope, because you also don't want to be asking so many hard questions that someone just shuts down and doesn't want to talk to you anymore. So I do realize that he is in a difficult position, and I give him credit for that, which is why I don't want to say he was too easy, because at the same time, he was talking to Jake about extremely heavy topics sometimes, and it's touchy to get people to talk about that stuff. So grilling them on that stuff, I feel like, is complicated too. Though there were parts where I wish he would have pressed a little bit more, but that's just me, and sometimes people say I'm a bitch, so maybe that's coming out.
Got a speeding ticket, I don't go to court. She was really lame, she made me bored.
So we need to talk about this whole shit with Elissa Violet and Logan Paul. I mean, I'm shook. So first of all, I think that with Elissa's interview, now, I've always kind of liked Elissa. I never had anything against her. She's probably one of the only people from the X-Teen 10, I guess, that I don't have a major problem with. But I thought that when she was interviewed, the way she characterized her relationship with Logan was a one-night stand, error in judgment, essentially, right? When we see Jake Paul, he indicates that it's actually not a one-night stand. He said they started a sexual relationship and implied that it wasn't just one bad decision.
I just never said it before, like on camera, but basically, she came up with a plan in her head that, like, she wanted to make me feel the way that, or she wanted me to feel the way that she felt, because she thought that I, like, hurt her so much, and she wanted me to feel that same pain. And so I think out of spite, she began a relationship with my brother behind my back, like without me knowing about it, and it was a sexual relationship.
I think that's really important, because there's a very big difference between making one bad decision once and making a bad decision repeatedly, to the point where it's not a decision as much as you're choosing to make errors. You're choosing to continue with your mistake. You're choosing to not walk away. That's very different to me, and I judge that very differently. So depending on what's true, I'm gonna have a different opinion there. As of now, I really think that Elissa Violet probably had sex with Logan Paul more than once, which makes me like her less. So another thing is that Jake seems like he's quite messed up and immature for his age, because he doesn't see where the line is drawn. So that is something that they discussed specifically. And honestly, I feel bad for him, because he seems strangely almost kind of sheltered about how the real world works, which makes sense, because if you get into social media and become big when you're younger, I can imagine what effect that must have on your brain, especially if your parents are his dad, which we'll get to as well. So I understand that, but at the same time, I'm like, how is it that nobody has ever said to him, get a publicist? Or get someone to manage your PR, get someone to approve or deny your videos, like get someone to be there to stop you from making dumbass decisions. And You know, like, I can't blame him for making stupid decisions because he is only 20. Granted, I never acted like that at 20, but I also wasn't in social media, so I can't judge him too harshly for that. Though, I think that once you're 18, your education is your responsibility. So with the amount of money he's making off of YouTube, realistically, if he wanted to continue his education, even if it's not college or anything, just like hiring a tutor or something like that, you can do that. So when you have the time and money to do that and you choose not to, that's fine. You don't have to. But, you know, like, I'm gonna accept that, oh, I just didn't know excuse a lot less when you easily could have found a way to inform yourself on how the real world works, how people's sensitivity might work, all that kind of jazz. Like, you really easily could have done it. If you can rent like $1 million looking houses for your music videos, you can get a tutor. So didn't really like that part. Logan and Jake's father both come off as huge assholes. And I say come off as because maybe they're not that way, whatever. Like, I mean, I think we've seen enough evidence to prove that they're not great people. But as much as everyone is saying that, oh, like, Elissa Violet wasn't the bad person, Logan was, it's like, if they had sex more than once, they're both the bad person. Having sex once is already bad, but I can still empathize because I'm like, you felt fucked up. You felt like he was kind of being a tease essentially and not telling you how things were. So you wanted revenge in order to hurt him like he hurt you. I can understand that. Going so far as to keep having sex though, and also then making the video together, those are conscious decisions you made time after you and Jake had your like fallout, and time and time again, and potentially when you continue to have a sexual relationship.
Just the diss tracks were like, it was just a fun thing to do in the summer, and like no one knew it was like real beef because everything was kind of like a secret back then. But I filmed the video with Logan and that blew up, and it was a fun experience just being a part of it. It was a lot of fun. And then the second like we were done filming the music video, we went back to Logan's, ran into Greg Paul, which I talk about in my video, and I was just like, oh hey, like trying to be nice, how are you? And he was like, you're such a whore, you're a slut, like if you were a dude, I would have beat the fuck out of you a long time ago, like you're disgusting, and like basically threatening to beat my ass. And he kept getting in my face, and Logan just sat there and like laughed. And then I went downstairs in my car, cried and cried and cried. I was like crying, and I called Logan. I was like, hey, is this a good idea that I'm like on this diss track with you? Like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I don't want to hurt Jake.
That's Elissa Violet, used to be your chick. Now she in the Logan, and you know she on my team.
I just basically asked him to come downstairs and talk to me about it, and he was like, oh, like, no, I don't have time, like, I have to edit this, I have to post this. Listen, Alyssa, like, I already have, like, your approval of being in this video, like, I don't care about what you say now if you don't want to be in it, like, I have you on camera saying that you're excited, so you can't, like, legally do anything to me, like, I'm gonna progress no matter what you say, so I'm gonna post this, and, like, no matter what you have to say, and that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, Logan, like,
with his brother. So my empathy runs a little bit low, but that doesn't remove the fact that I think that Logan is really a horrible person, and I don't want to label anyone a sociopath because, like I said, I'm not qualified, but I do think he has something extremely wrong with him, and I genuinely don't know how Jake forgave him if he did. And, you know, like, I do really want to emphasize that I understand that Jake went through some crazy trauma with that, because that is no joke what happened to him. So I still don't particularly like him just because of who he is, I guess, but I definitely feel like he's more human. And one other thing that bothered me was that Jake was saying how, like, people hate him and like don't treat him like a human essentially, and don't act like he has human problems. But at the same time, I'm like, if you're being an entertainer and you're not showing your humanity, how are people going to see that side of you? You know, like, that's also why I like uploading videos about like mental health and like just about stuff I do or have gone through, just because like I'm a person and I want you to know who that person is, but I need to choose to show you. I can't hide that person and then say, well, you guys don't see me as a human. It's like, well, shit, you gotta show me something though. So I think that both Logan and his father in the end just have issues with empathy and general decency. Also, the merch issue. Was Shane too nice? I know that people always say that Shane is too nice in his series, which, you know, like I said before, I don't necessarily think is the case. It's just like, as a documentarian, you need to know where to push and where to just kind of let it go. And I think that Shane is still figuring that out. Like, I don't think that you ever have like a solid way of knowing, can I talk about this or not? You kind of have to gauge someone, and that's not easy. However, when it comes to the merch issue, no. I let things slide here and there. Like I said, I was empathetic here and there. The merch issue is where I call immense fucking bullshit, okay? So, months back, Cabos on YouTube in this video talked about Jake Paul's social media program. It's called Edfluence, and essentially you pay in order to get this program, which is a bunch of BS, like hacks to become social media famous and whatever. And Jake Paul's audience is dominantly kids. So he was shilling out this product to children, and he knows his audience is children, which is why they'd buy it, because anyone older would be maybe a bit more suspicious about it. When you're saying that you don't think that you're manipulating kids, I don't buy it. And it's fine to want to make money off of merch. Just own it. Own it. It's fine. Everyone wants to make more money, sure. But just own that you want to make that money, and don't act like you putting half of a video worth of merch plugging in each video isn't trying to sell your merch. No. And I don't think Shane Dawson was necessarily too nice here, as much as I think he thinks Jake is a lot more pure than he is, and I don't think Jake is this evil mastermind. I don't think he's smart enough for that. But I think that he's smart enough to manipulate people and know what he's doing. Wasn't that what he was doing with Elissa Violet anyway? So I'm just kind of like, so you're doing it there, but you didn't realize that here? Convenient.
I always eat at Nobu. She asked me, can I come? I said no, boo.
I enjoy the series. I think it got better after the halfway mark, because I think I already knew enough about Jake Paul, just as someone who's on YouTube, like inevitably I'm gonna know. But I think it was good to have the context, though. Like I said, the first few videos could have been shorter. And really the bottom line of this entire series, I'm gonna quote Jake Paul here, never thought I'd say that, but he said something along the lines of no one is innocent. And I really think that is the bottom line here. I think a lot of what social media does is trying to find a bad guy in a situation, and it just isn't that black and white. And that's really what this whole video emphasized, the fact that there are so many stories that we don't see and don't hear about that still happen. So when we think someone's the good guy, say Elissa Violet, well, it's not exactly the case. Now, everyone has a bit of a good and bad person in them, so I'm not saying these people are gonna be bad people forever or whatever, but as of now, like, we can see who some bad people are based on what has been exposed. Again, we don't see everything though, so they could be worse potentially. But I really like the series. I like Shane Dawson as a documentarian. I think that he's interesting and hilarious, and it was really brave of him to do this because no one wanted him to do it. Some people were even pissed I was gonna make this video, so like I can't even imagine the backlash he'd get, like considering I'm an irrelevant channel compared to his. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm really curious to see what he does next. Like, I know I clicked on those videos so fast, like faster than anything that came up. I was like, yep, click, this is the next 2 hours of my life. But yeah, that's what I thought about it. I'd appreciate hearing what you guys thought. Let me know if you like the series or not, and thank you guys so much for watching, and let's just get right into the fan art.
6 figures I was only for. 6 figures I was only for.